Thanks for joining us today. At NetSuite, we still think of ourselves as a startup despite having over 24,000 customers in lots of different industries. But we really do appreciate everything that you're doing here to try to make the world a better place by inventing new things and creating new business models and all sorts of other good stuff. Startups are very hard. Fundraising can be very difficult. So please take advantage of the expertise that we have here today and learn about these companies, see how they pitch, and take advantage while you can. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that, Dave. And now just up today, we have Melissa, who is the founder of Nourished. And Nourished provide 3D printed vitamin gummy. So Melissa actually currently holds the record for the largest seed round raised by a female tech entrepreneur in the UK. So very, very impressive founder. And just before we go to the questions, we will go straight on to the pitch.
Yeah. First of all, I love it. I'm a huge fan. Conceptually, this I think is fantastic. My questions for you, and I'm putting my VC hat on here. Tell me a little bit about your IP and how you're protecting everything, and then how it relates to the competition, because you're not the only one doing this. You're just the best one. So if you can give us that would be great.
Absolutely, that's a great question. So we are actually the only personalized vitamin brand globally that has patents around their manufacturing process. And the patents are actually escaping over multiple different things. So we actually have patents on the hardware devices, so the actual production machines, which we design, develop, and make in-house. We also have a very powerful patent on the hypersuspension of hydrocolloid bonds and pectin, which allows for rapid encapsulation and protecting of each of the individual layers of active ingredients so they don't interfere with each other. This is also highly beneficial for medicine. And then we have several patents on 3D printing of consumables, which are basic around process, which makes it safe and also allows us to get FDA and FSA compliant authorities. The way that we are differentiating is really, we're the only ones in the world that are authentically manufacturing a personalized product, where you see other players in the market, and certainly there are many. Most of them are putting you into either a bucket of a pre-made product or picking up lots of individually made pre-made products and putting them in a plastic bag with a sachet with your name on it. And we are really the only ones who can make personalized gummy or authentically manufacture a personalized product for each person.
Excellent, I love it.
Perfect. And Beatrice, on to you for your question.
Absolutely, and congrats, Melissa. The pitch is great, but also the vitamins are great because I've tried them personally.
Oh, yay!
And they taste really good while actually being sustainable and sugar-free. So congrats for that, because it's a very difficult balance to get. I guess my question is, I understand how you're differentiated from the manufacturing and the production standpoint, but then obviously you have to communicate that to the end customer. And so when you think about go-to-market strategy, and in particular marketing, how does that message flow to the customers? And does that result in, for example, the majority of customers being from organic channels, or are you still relying very heavily on paid marketing?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. So basically, it's a very different story when you look at our two major markets. So we sell in both the UK and the US. We started in the UK. And the US only started in really November of last year, so it's a much younger market for us. But in the UK, we had to do a lot more education on personalized vitamins. So why do you need personalized vitamins? In the US, the consumer totally gets it because there's quite an established market there. In addition, in the UK, we have to do a lot of education around why would you put vitamins in a gummy? Whereas in America, gummy is already more than 50% of the total segment, and you don't have to explain it at all. So our ads and the way that we message, and everything from our social communication to our CRM activity to paid placement ads, have different messages for each market. In the US, it's so simple. It's like gummy vitamins, now personalized. But in the UK, we have to talk more about higher efficacy, higher impact, the superfoods, and all of those different things. But the market has responded extremely well, and we're also not inexpensive in comparison to competition in the UK, yet we've still been able to command some really impressive growth. And we have 83% retention rate on our subscribers in the UK, which is fantastic to see. In relation to how we generate our customers, we certainly started with primarily paid channels on Google and also on Facebook, Instagram are the primary ones. But we have now seen that we're getting customers, about 46% of our customers in the previous month came from organic searching. So people searching from our actual name, and or people clicking on links from PR articles, or people clicking on posts that we've done on social and a friend has recommended it, etc. So it's wonderful to see. It's much bigger percentage in organic in the UK, but we've just started in America, so that's fair. And we're going to keep pushing on the same channels there as well. Perfect.
And David, onto your question, please.
I must admit, I thought the presentation was fantastic, actually. To anyone who works in sales, I think my questions will kind of prove that. I'm interested in how much you're looking to raise and when.
So we're in our Series A right now. We're raising $7.5 million. And that money is primarily to help us to build a third facility here in the UK to handle capacity and demand, and also to set up an North American production facility. The business is actually cash positive on a month-to-month without CapEx by the end of this month. And the money is really for scale and really for growth.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. And we've had a couple of questions in from the audience. Jason asked how you're doing your client acquisition, which I think you answered straight after you actually input the question. So the next one here is, who is your target market, and who do you really position this product for?
So our target market is rather wide because we have a huge variety of different ingredients, and we can actually approach different types of people in a lot of different ways. A good example that I can give about this is, you would think that the target market for our product would be maybe 25 to 35 health and fitness enthusiasts, right? And that is true. They definitely like the product, but actually our #1 selling pre-blended product, which is basically a blend that we make just for a life event or a specific need base, is called Menopure, and this is for women who are going through menopause. So actually our customers, target customer demographic has really grown over the last year, and we are still seeing it grow. The one thing that really surprised me is that our customer is almost 50-50 split between men and women, and I didn't actually think that would happen. I thought we would have more women actually than men, but actually it's about 50-50.
Perfect. And the next question in from the audience is all around how you plan to handle the post-Brexit world. So do you plan to have a facility in Europe for European customers?
So I actually set the company up after the Brexit vote had happened, but obviously before the transition was complete, because that went on quite a long time, that transitional period in between. But as a result of knowing that it was coming, I actually set up our supply chain so that 98% of all the raw materials that we use in Nourished come from UK-based supply. The other 2% come from the United States, from branded manufacturers of high-level ingredients. In addition to that, we made a very strong strategic decision not to start marketing our product to the European markets until we saw what really was going to happen. That ended up happening, I think, on, was it Christmas Day or the day before Christmas of last year. Now that we know a little bit more about what it's going to look like, I think that we can start to look at the European market, but at the moment, it's still very messy. There's a lot of new protocols in place for shipping, customs clearance, etc. And I don't think it's worth it at this early stage to go in there. We certainly don't depend on it for our forecasted growth. And so when it does finally free up, it'll all be incremental on top, and we would definitely like to look at it then.
Perfect. Melissa, thank you so much for that. Quite an insightful pitch and a great performance. So thank you very much for taking part.
No problem.
So next up, we have Tahir, who is the founder of Canopy, a financial well-being platform focused on helping renters improve their credit score. So once again, just before we go to questions, we will take a look at his pitch.
Hi, Tahir. Thanks for doing this. So I think we didn't ask everybody to put up front how much they're raising. So it's up to you if you want to, did you want to hit that and then I'll ask you my question?
Hi, David. So yeah, we're raising £3 million.
Excellent. Perfect. Well, so I like this idea of reputation as a service. It's a strong concept. So my question for you is that there's lots of monetization options. So rentals is obviously one thing, but you could move into other, whether it's car loans or insurance or whatever else, or these monetization things like you mentioned. That 23% is obviously a great margin. Is there any one besides rentals, or is that still the bread and butter? Where do you see the growth potential for this outside of rentals?
And absolutely, David. Well, thank you so much for first of all listening to our story. Look, I think we're starting from a place where Canopy Passport. It is a way for us to connect with someone renting, and then being connected with that renter over the life of their rental life, 10 years average in the UK market. And so what we're, as we're growing our product offering, the plan and the ambition is to grow from insurance products today into loans and savings products in the future, with the idea being a renter being able to access a range of products all on a single platform.
Perfect. Now on to Beatrice for your question, please.
Hi, Tahir. This is actually one of those pitch where I hear and I think, why hasn't anybody else thought about this before? Because it's such a no-brainer. And actually, millennials don't buy anymore. So the renter score is just something that is just needed. I guess my question is, and actually as a background in my banking years, I worked on TransUnion call credit acquisition. And I know that they have 1,000 different products. And I actually wonder whether there's any risk that they develop something like this, because, I'm sure they are thinking about it. So, from a competitive standpoint, what do you think they're going to do?
Beatrice, when you say they, are you referring to
like the credit score companies? Do you think they could?
Oh, got it. Okay.
Have on
absolutely.
There? Yeah.
Look, no, absolutely. So, I mean, if one of our investors is Experian, and one of the reasons Experian invested in Canopy, they actually had a business unit that is focused on screening renters, and as a result of investing in Canopy, that business is now out of business. And so, because what we've done is we've basically changed the industry and turned the industry on its head, which is, within 5 minutes, the renter knows exactly where they stand in terms of affordability and then credit profile. And so we're not competing with Experian or Equifax. Actually, we're complementary to their business, because what they have is legacy data, and there's a data lag. Versus what we have on our platform is 85% of the customers on the Canopy platform, they're going through open banking connection. And so what that gives us is that it gives us that 360-degree view of someone's lifestyle and their behaviors, the save versus spend. And so that using that data plus the Experian or Equifax data, what will allow us to build a more richer view on being able to offer someone at a better rate, be it a loan or a saving product. And so therefore, we're very much complementary to both Experian and Equifax, which is why, in addition to Experian as one of our early investors, which Experian typically invest at Series A and Series B, they made an exception because of what we're doing. We've just signed the deal also now with Equifax, and the idea is to pull both their bureau's data into our platform, so that we can start to engage with the customers and renters in a much more richer way, understanding, hey, you've been tracking your rent and you can see your credit score go up, and therefore you've got a better loan rate.
Thank you.
Perfect. And David, onto your question, please.
Okay. Long time no speak to here. Just so everyone's aware, I'm not exactly neutral on this. We've deployed about £6 million into this business. Yeah, I mean, obviously we know about the past, so I might as well ask about the future. What can a renter hope for in a few years' time from the platform?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you think about the renter, until now, when I say now, like more recent, the renter wasn't even classed a customer. The customer has been the landlord or the letting agent. And the banks and the financial services, they're really not understood renters as a customer demographic. So, we're starting from ground up. The whole platform is built from ground up, not just helping you move, but helping you build that credit score by monthly engagement, track your rent. We feed that Experian, Equifax. You can start to see your credit score go up. So I think our focus is not initially selling, because that's where the insurance companies come from. Sell, sell, sell. Growth doesn't come from selling. It comes from actually having a deep relationship with the customer. And so what we're doing with the Canopy platform and the Passport is about establishing a deeper relationship with the renter, understanding their needs, understanding their budget constraints, so that in 2 years' time, when someone moves with Canopy, they've got a Canopy Passport, they have access to in-app insurance or a loan without having to think about buying insurance. Insurance or any financial product for that matter is embedded in their life. And the Canopy app becomes the everyday life, where not only are they able to access financial products, but also being able to use the platform to pay rent and share other kind of life expenses if they're living in a shared property. So our ambition over the next 2 years is that using that open banking data to build that deep relationship with the renter, so we can serve them better and offer them a range of products all on a single platform.
Perfect. And once again, we've got quite a bit of interaction from the audience here as well, with plenty of questions. So just to take a couple of them, Mike is asking to find out just a bit more about your go-to-market strategy.
Absolutely, James. So another great question. So for anyone who's been following the fintech industry where we come from, and if you've read the Lemonade report from investor report from last week, their CAC right now is $400, right? $400 to acquire a customer. Our CAC is near negative. Why? Because we have built the UK's only two-sided screening platform, which allows for the very first time to renters know within minutes where they stand, and gives them the power and the control over the data, be able to share that with any property company they want to move with.
Perfect. Tahir, thank you very much. Another great presentation. So thank you very much for your time on that one. So next up this evening, we have Tim, who is joining us from Kokoon Technology. Kokoon Technology uses sensor technology and data science to provide personalized sleep coaching. So once again, just before we get to the questions, we'll dive straight into the presentation. So let's kick off the questions. Dave, if we go to you.
Yeah, sure. Tim, good stuff. I mean, there are a lot of dead bodies in this space. So kudos to you guys for making it through. You've already sort of crossed a lot of the chasm in this. How much do you have to think about the hardware aspect? The software in many ways more interesting, but it seems like the hardware is still critical. So how do you guys think about that as a company? And then how did you think about that on a go forward basis?
Yeah, so as a company, we really tend to think about the solution, and one of the key things that is one of the most powerful things is the ability to deliver audio coaching. So the hardware for us is an enabler for our platform. In essence, we kind of had to build the rails because the rails didn't exist, but really our long-term future, where we're really positioning the business, is around the platform that we're building, translating real world data into real world outcomes with sleep. So just a kind of snapshot of our team: 95% of our team are working on the software, the content, and the pathway through, and then we work with partners and manage specifications on the hardware side, if that makes sense.
Excellent. That's what I was hoping to hear. Thanks.
Perfect. And Beatrice, on to you, please.
Hi, Tim. I guess my question is exactly the one that somebody wrote in the chat now, which is, I guess, who's your real target customer? Is it customers that have really severe insomnia and for which a solution like this is really needed? Or is the majority of the population that has some trouble sleeping, but maybe they're stressed out and it's very periodical? And in that case, how do you think about competition? Because, for example, I actually use Calm to fall asleep because they have some sleep stories, and that's just about enough for me because I don't have particular trouble. So what are you thinking about that?
Yeah, so we tend to target the kind of they have a problem with sleep, but it's not chronic enough that they're going into a sleep clinic. That's our kind of sweet spot. So generally they have a bit of an issue. What we like to say is that we're kind of Calm 2.0. So Calm is one size fits all. We hope this will work to send you to sleep. And you can use Calm with our products and our platform, and we can actually make Calm more adaptive and intelligent. But really what we're about is fundamentally helping you with any underlying issues that you see. So we're, Calm is great because, they've really raised a lot of awareness and done some great things, and it works for a lot of people. But we're kind of taking that to the next level and making it really kind of much more personalized to the individual.
Got it. Thank you.
Great. And David, on to you, please.
Thanks for the presentation. What would you say was, I suppose, easy to replicate and difficult to replicate if another company was going to compete?
Yeah, I think, we've been through the ringer. We've got our scars making physical products, and a lot of that has really enabled us to understand the customers and the data that what's really needed. We've developed a lot of IP around our platform and the control loop, and we're one of the first companies in this space. So we've been able to build some quite strong IP. And yeah, I think kind of it's relatively easy to stand up, a software company that perhaps does something relatively similar. But I think it's the quality of the data and those insights that we can glean from that data that is really where we're leading and have built out our IP, if that makes sense.
Great. And just on to the audience. So I know Beatrice sort of asked half of Andrew's question here, but it'd be great to hear a bit more around your retention percentages or forecasts.
Yeah, so we've so the way that our platform works is at the moment it's a minimum term of 12 months to a year. So we've not actually had anyone kind of fall out of that yet. So we don't yet have that data really. So in time we will, but right now it's 100% retention. So yeah, hopefully.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I can see Dave celebrating that in my top left corner. So good news. Tim, thank you very, very much for the presentation and for taking the questions as well. So next up this evening, we have Rupert, who is the founder of Pynk, who are an AI-powered social investment platform. So once again, we will go straight to the pitch and then we'll come back and take questions.
For those of you who have to do a presentation, you should steal Rupert's format. It was excellent, excellent format for presentation, especially for this. All right, Rupert, help me with this one because I'm fascinated by this, and I own one share of GameStop, and I own lots of cryptocurrency. I own basically one of every crypto that aren't people stupid?
That's a very provocative question, especially when looking at the crowd as a whole. Now, if you look at the aggregate average of what the crowd say to do, you can argue you could almost always go against what they're going to do. That's called wisdom of crowds. The technology that we've developed is what we call wisdom in crowds. So we have individuals who are right at certain times under certain conditions, and then we really we weight their predictions or their knowledge to us higher or lower based on that.
Yeah, it's cool, man. If this works, you're really onto something.
Thank you.
Perfect. And Beatrice, on to you, please.
Rupert, this is fascinating. I have about 1,000 questions, but maybe the one that I'm mostly focused on is if you could expand a bit on the B2B opportunity.
Sure.
Why, and maybe an institutional investor would pay you instead of hiring an army of analysts that can do spreadsheets for them, I was one of them once.
100%. So institutional is a very, very broad term that I use in pitches just to get it out there. Primarily, the people that we tend to work with who give us capital to manage is more like family offices because they don't want to manage it themselves. Hedge funds, however, they do want to manage it themselves, and they would prefer our data and how you have access to our APIs. Now, that data gets sold in different ways, either through model portfolios or by direct access to the data feed. But in contrast to other firms like out there, like Robinhood, who basically allow front running on individuals' trades, we're not allowing individuals to trade on our platform. We're just taking in the data and then we're sharing that data with other institutions, and we infer our own data from it and portfolios to give back to the users, and they can infer their own data to give it back to their clients as well.
Great. And David, your question, please.
Hi, thanks for that. I mean, obviously, certainly robo-advisors have struggled to take on kind of assets under management with a sensible kind of cost of acquisition. Right. Obviously, with a B2C model, it is expensive and it is difficult. How do you kind of plan on addressing that?
So on the B2C side of things, we look at a cost neutral basis. So we gain users via our crowd, and it's a fully gamified platform. So that's why people want to come onto our platform. They predict, they get rewarded for their predictions, and then they move into the investment side of things. As they invest, they add more assets. If they invest over 25K, we charge them. If they don't if they stop predicting for any particular week, they get charged for that. So it's really about providing data. But broadly speaking, the amount of people that get charged versus the amount of people who get it for free cancel each other out. And that's cool because really what we're doing is we're a data company. Whilst we work with financial instruments, the core of everything that powers us is data. So cost of acquisition for us, for people coming into the crowd, you're looking at under $1. When they move through into being an investor, yes, that comes up slightly higher. You're looking more of this sort of money box level, about $30 per user. But broadly speaking, we're way below the kind of average for a retail company. But we knew that was a problem when we designed Pynk. So that's why the B2B side of things is actually more important. And whilst this year is all focused on B2C growth, 2022 and beyond is based on our B2B growth, where we've got a greater wealth of data that looks to companies we've got trials going on with.
Perfect. And once again, a few questions coming in from the audience, and actually follows on nicely. So from Moed, he would like to know just a bit more about how you plan to grow the company, as he notices you don't have a head of sales. Once again, you've mentioned that B2B is a big part of this recurring revenue model. So just a bit more on that, please.
No problem. We actually have a head of investor relations who acts really as our head of sales, and he broadly covers all of our B2B sales as well. But the way in which we operate with the community and the crowd, we work on referral marketing, and we developed a tool that allows us to identify micro influencers. So every time we identify one micro influencer, we incentivize them to add their community beyond them. And on average, we get an additional 9 users for every micro influencer we identify. That provides the growth on the B2C side of things. On the B2B side of things, it's a much longer tail. It's a much longer sales cycle. So we go in and we provide free data trials for the larger hedge funds. And those free data trials start to go into paid subscriptions after 3 to 6 months, depending on the volume of data that they're looking for.
Great. And last question from the audience. Mike would like to get a bit more of an insight as to your revenues for the past couple of years.
So we've been entirely pre-revenue up until next month. So we have just received our FCA approval. Our investor wallet goes live at the end of March. So you're all welcome to log on to pynk.io and check it out then. But up until this point, we only started in late 2018. We've been a pre-revenue startup.
Rupert, thank you so much for the presentation and for the answers. Next up, and finally for this evening, we have Ruslana, who is the founder of TechNovator. And TechNovator specialize in distance wireless charging. So once again, we will jump straight to the presentation and then we will come back for the questions. Great, thank you very much for that, Ruslana. A very, very interesting tech that has a potential to change a number of industries. So excited to get into this one. So Dave, could you kick us off with questions, please?
Yeah, so you have three very distinct use cases, all of which are large. The medical one, arguably the hardest. And so, typically, we at an early stage like this, we like to see a focus from a startup. Is there one market? I mean, they're all big enough to support. I guess my point is that any one of those three is big enough. Which is the one that you think is the key for you for call it the next for the use of funds for the 2.5 million?
Actually, we are mostly concentrated on the first product, Ultra Home Office solution, because we already have the prototype, and we will launch such product next year. And we actually already successfully passed safety test of our technology, and such market really huge. But as I mentioned also that we will not go to the market with wireless charging solution, but it will be expanded product line, not for the smartphone, also for the laptop, monitor, keyboards, mouses, different devices. Now, is it possible to charge the devices at the same time without any cables?
Great. And Beatrice, onto your question, please.
So it's super interesting. To be fair, with the risk of probably not understanding the answer to the question that I'm about to ask, I mean, where I left it off with quantum principles is that super early to market, and even bigger corporates are trying to build a quantum computer or or doing quantum principles, but they're actually super early stage, and applications are still very, very far off. What have you done that these guys cannot do? And if you could explain it in basic terms, that would be great.
Beatrice, it's really a nice question, because we work with different methods of energy transfer, and we know all existing methods. And actually, we have the advantages in our technology because we work not with actually, it's something between classic physics and quantum physics. And I need to tell that we a little bit ahead from what stage currently we have in quantum physics. And I need to tell that we already can prove it because we have working prototype, and we did all measures concerning our technology, and we exactly know that we have safe technology, we have already prototype, and we can expand market really fast. But to invent something new, it's it's actually very difficult. It's very important to question everything that already exists on the market and combine different sense.
Yeah, thank you. I went into a spiral on quantum for like 3 days and then I abandoned it. But thank you so much. I would love to know more afterwards.
We've all been there, Beatrice.
Great. And David, onto your last question, please.
Many thanks for that. I suppose my main question is regarding how much money has gone into the business in the form, whether it be grants or invested, and in essence, who is currently on the cap table? What's the ownership split at the moment?
Actually, we have currently 4 founders, 3 inventors in our team. And I need to tell that we previously won scientific grant from Polish National Research and Development Center. And currently we work with such grant funding. And also we, in our team, one of the co-founders, he's mostly like a business angel. And also we invest our own funding on the technology development. We developed technology during 6 years. And currently we have like a big mission for us after consumer electronics goes to the health market, because our final mission to leave something after ourselves on the earth that can help people. For example, our technology that can be integrated in the human implants will save leaves, because currently it's a big risk for the people, not need to change only battery, but need to take out the whole implant from the human organ.
Perfect. Ruslana, thank you so much for your pitch and for your answers as well. This evening has absolutely flown by with the various pitches. So just to put our investor panel on the spot a little bit, I would love a bit of feedback for the pitches generally and any advice to whether it be the pitches or the audience. So again, Dave, if we could start with you.
Yeah, Ruslana, you spoke very fast. So I just, especially, and you're probably because you're smarter than all of us. So just keep that in the back of your mind that it's hard to slow down. That's my feedback for you. I think everybody did a great job, and thank you for your preparation, and thank you for having good answers. As you know, this pitch is sort of, first of many battles. So I guess, in terms of advice or whatever, you never stop pitching until you have the money. And that's my key answer for you.
Thank you so much.
Perfect. Beatrice, any advice or feedback from you for any of the pitches this evening?
Yeah, I mean, the pitches were great, actually. With the risk of sounding contrarian, I would say that the bulk of, the decision of the investor is actually not quite on the pitch. It's about, building relationships ahead of the time where you're actually fundraising. So many times I found myself, hearing a pitch, and then maybe it spirals very quickly into an investment and the term sheet. But most of the investments that I've done have been relationships that have been going on for maybe 1 or 2 years before. And so, pitch is very important, and you've been great at it, but don't forget to cultivate the relationship with investors way earlier, which is, in the end, they will be on your board for 10 years, so which is longer than the average marriage. So it's very, very important to know them well before.
Really interesting. Thank you for that, Beatrice. And David, any feedback from yourself?
I mean, having been a founder myself, I feel your pain. I know all the problems you're going to have. I thought the pitches are very good, pretty much across the board. I thought they were really good. My only suggestion is that certainly one of the nicer ways to frame a pitch, I think, is if you start with the problem the market has and the solution you're offering. There's often a tendency to tell everyone about your product initially, because that's obviously what you've spent years building. But yeah, no, I thought across the board, I thought it was all very good.
Perfect. Well, thank you all. And thank you to everyone for joining this evening, to the audience, to the pitchers, and to the investment panel as well. And one more time, just a massive thank you from us to Oracle NetSuite for making this all possible. So as mentioned, this will be a quarterly event as part of this series. So we're very excited to see where we get to with bringing different founders into pitch. And hearing even more advice from the investors themselves. So if you would like to be considered to pitch next time, please do get in touch. And we will be putting together a short list over the next couple of months. But until then, I hope everyone has a lovely evening, and thank you so much once again for joining us.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.